from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whether you're a star kid or a kid who loves stars, or you're a star, or you're a kid, or you're neither, or you're neither. If you're a little bit sleepy and you want a taste of a starry sky, but a little bit more, without the action, like a cloudy, starry sky, this podcast is coming to you across the deep, dark night. I'm the clouds and you're the stars. It's time for Sleep With Me. The podcast doesn't make any sense. It puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots. As we get towards the end of the year here, I wanted you to think about, hey, how have you been using Sleep With Me over 2020 and 2021? How many episodes do you listen to a week? How do you listen? Do you listen all night? Do you listen to an episode on a sleep timer? Do you listen to just the intros? Do you just listen to the stories? And here's another question. Do you want more? Do you want more content? And do you want to feel like you're a part of something more? If those answers are yes, or you say, well, I don't know, Scoots, check out our Patreon, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Check out our membership. $10 and $20 patrons are getting 5 nights of content a week, story-only episodes, all intro episodes, Ray episodes, Great British Bake Off fact episodes, Fearless Flyer episodes, and you could get all that at the $10 and $20 level. You could save by being an annual patron, and then if you're at the $5 level, you get ad-free episodes twice a week and story-only episodes twice a week. But if you really like all intros, you like listening to story-only stuff, you like Ray, you want more and more content, think about becoming a $10 or $20 patron. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, sign up. You will be blown away. You can listen in the same podcast app most of the time as you already listen to the free show in. In the $10 and $20 feed, I don't even know, there's over 1,000 episodes. You could go all the way back to episode 2 as a $10 and $20 patron and listen to some stuff that's a little bit more make your face blush. So think about signing up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. If you get a lot of value out of the show, you want more, and you want to be a part of something more, be a rebel with a cause, pay for a free podcast, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive. Are you thinking more about how to tighten up your budget these days? Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average, and customers can qualify for an average of 6 discounts when they sign up. A little off your rate each month goes a long way. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2020 and May 2021. Potential savings will vary. Discounts vary and are not available in all states and situations. All right, everybody, it is time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, the one part of the podcast where I pop my peas, if you please. I thank the listeners who supported the sponsors. This is really how we're able to be here for free for you. I'm looking for people to thank in the Sleepy Supporter Zone because as the year winds down, all the people that advertise on the show are saying, hey, should we advertise with Sleep With Me in 2022? That's what next year is, right? And it's really simple. They just look at how many listeners supported them, purchased the products. So when you support a sponsor and then you spread the word about it, let them know about it. It helps keep them supporting the show so you can listen for free whenever you want, wherever you want. So if you supported Allform, you purchased an Allform sofa, you purchased a Helix mattress, please let me know about it. Fill out the form at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors so I can get you in the Dream Door Society. Fill out that form. Any other sponsors too, fill out the form. Let the sponsors know about it on social media. Let me know about it, and I'll try to thank you here on the Sleepy Supporter Zone. The second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need. There's links to resources in our show notes. If you need support right now, if you need extra help right now, there's links to resources you can connect with, including international resources. It's about supporting the communities we're a part of, the communities that exist around the show and in our lives, with our actions saying Black Lives Matter, saying Stop AAPI Hate. So there's links to organizations you can connect with to learn more, to support more, right in our show notes. And I'm looking to hear, so I can start next year off, finding out about new organizations that have either supported you on your journeys or that you support that have had an impact on your life. Let me know about it. Just use a contact form at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And, Mystery Bart, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mr. Bart. Don't forget, get those holiday orders in at our merch store, sleepwithmepodcast.com/store. And what do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether that's thoughts, things on your mind that you're thinking about. So thoughts, feelings, anything emotionally coming up for you. Maybe they're related to those thoughts. Maybe they're just there. It could be physical sensations, changes in time or temperature or schedule, routine. Maybe you work the second or the third shift. Maybe it's something else. Whatever it is that's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. And I guess basically what that means is I'm going to go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. I'm going to repeat myself. I'm going to use words that I'm going to misuse words. I'm going to mix words up, use them in the wrong places, all those things. It's interesting when you think about sentience in words and sentience. Is the sentient sentence, if there was a sentient sentence, I would be in big doo-doo because the sentences and the letters would say, Scooter, you're on our list. You're not at the top of the list. We got a lot of other stuff to deal with, but you're in there. You're a bit of you're a word vandal. And I'd say, oh boy, can we use that in isn't that I think I used this in an intro a while ago. I would say, what's a lighter version of vandal? I wouldn't say I'm the Banksy of words. You're right about that. If I guess I don't have the vocabulary to be more than I'm just a word vandal, but not a big time one, like an amateur one. And all I do is kind of, take a word that, straightforward, and I say, what does that mean? I take a word like I perplexion. Oh, but if you're new, hello, regular listeners. When was the last time I talked about word vandals? Despite the connotations, vandal is a nice word. It really is. Obviously it rhymes with candle and mandolin. If you're giving me some space to make up, but you say, well, that's actually doesn't rhymes with the beginning of mandolin. What about mantle? Not really. You're right. So sorry. So that's new listeners. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Let me give you some information because this podcast is a bit different than most other podcasts, even most sleep podcasts, as a matter of fact. And reason being is that, why is this different? Well, a couple of things. One, this is not a podcast you really listen to, or you don't need to listen. You could listen, but you really don't. Clearly, if you've been listening for the past 4 or 5 minutes, you say, oh, okay, This person is not he's serious. He's about as serious as Yahoo serious. And that's like a reference that even people that were around in the 80s wouldn't get. But he says things like Yahoo serious, and they have meaning to him. Yeah, but so this is a podcast you kind of barely listen to. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep. So this is kind of like a podcast you look at like clouds. Or, you know, like, I don't know, you just kind of barely pay attention. I'm here to be soothing, not quite background noise, but you'll kind of see as you develop like a regular habit of listening to Sleep With Me. If you do, the other thing is this podcast is just not for everybody. It does take a few tries to get used to, so kind of see how it goes. But most regular listeners say, yeah, it took me 2 or 3 tries to realize I don't need to pay attention. It never really gets started. So just kind of give it a few tries and see how it goes. I think I said that already. He repeats himself a lot, and then he gets mixed up. It's all part of the process. So it's a podcast you don't really listen to. It also doesn't really put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep, and not so much like I'm here to take your mind off stuff. But if you can't sleep, I'm here for a full hour plus. So I'm here to keep you company whether you're awake or asleep. I'm here to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar bud, your boar bestie, your boar bruh. If you're you know, between, you know, South LA, San Diego area, you know, any coastal, you know, any area where people say boar bruh, you know, I could be that. But so, yeah, I'm just here to keep you company while you fall asleep. So those are 2 things for new listeners. If you're skeptical or doubtful, that is totally reasonable, because why wouldn't you be? If you've tried other stuff like most of us have to fall asleep, and you say, well, that worked once or twice, it didn't work again, or it didn't work at all. Yeah, you can be skeptical. I mean, this is a very different thing. And leaning into that skepticism, a few more things. Another thing that throws people off is the structure of the show. So I'm going to kind of explain to you the structure of the show. Show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So you feel seen and welcome. Then there's listener support for the listeners. Then there's support for the show so it can be free. Then there's the intro. And the intro goes from like minute 6 to minute 8, from minute 6 or 8 to around minute 10 to 20 to 15 to 18 to 17 to 6, somewhere between, you know, 10 and 20 minutes long, usually on the 20-minute side. And the intro serves a purpose because a lot of people, and understandably, they have very strong feelings about the intro because they say, what are you doing? Like, and I'd say, yeah, like, I understand. Like, you have strong feelings about the intro because it's very divergent from what you expect. So you expect someone to get to the point and to put you to sleep and not, you know, and that's, our show eventually does that when you stop paying attention to me. So that's the part of the intro serves as like, so new people know. I don't know. So I guess I can do an example. It's a show within a show. I say, well, I'm going to try to explain what the podcast is, but I'm not really good at that, even though I've done it 1,000+ times. Then I'm going to get mixed up. I'm going to go off topic, and eventually I'll kind of try to wrap it up. But so that's for the new listener. You say, oh, okay, I kind of get it, but I don't really understand. I say, well, boy, you're onto something now. But as you become a regular listener, it becomes part of your bedtime routine. And so a lot of regular listeners, they're getting ready for bed, or they're doing some sort of wind down, maybe drawing or sitting, or, you know, they might be on the couch. They might be paging through a magazine or a picture book, you know, some sort of gentle activity, or just sitting around or getting in bed and getting comfortable. But what I found is for the majority of listeners, not everybody, yeah, there are people that skip the intro or that fall asleep right away or that turn the show on in the middle of the night or listen all night. But for the majority of listeners, this part of the podcast, it gives you some distance between the day and the night and helps you wind down and slowly kind of get ready for bed. To start to unwind Well, I always use the analogy of a landing strip because it's like you're coming in for a landing. And then also but the intro is also the taxiing. Nobody appreciates the taxiing after landing. If planes only served to park so you could fall asleep, you'd say, even then it would be unappreciated because you say, okay, I just want to get to my gate and get out. And I say, well, no, we're going to wait a little while and then we're going to drive over. Oh, no, wrong one. They said Z14. I'm at F14. And looks like somebody's parked there. And you see, didn't we leave like 4.5 hours ago? Like they didn't, like, what do you mean somebody's parked there? I guess but this is true. This is stuff that goes through my mind. But in this case, you say, oh, but we're not going anywhere. You'd say, okay. I guess it's hard to create an analogy out of something that would never happen or doesn't make it. You say, okay, now we're at gate C14, everybody. I'm just going to talk now. And I'm going to tell you about the air. Oh, boy. And there's only 4 of you. It's such a roomy place. Unexpected airline. The airline that puts you to sleep because we don't go anywhere except when it's time to wake up, we'll go to another gate gently, and then you get a full breakfast, and it's great. That's the imaginary airline. So that's what the intro is kind of like. It doesn't make any sense. You say, what? I say, exactamundo. It just goes on and on and on to ease you into bedtime. And to give you a chance to slowly fall asleep. I guess because some people say, well, what do you mean? You got the greeting, then you got the sponsors, and then you got this long intro. How come you don't just get to the story? And I'd say after doing the show for a long time and even before doing the podcast, it's like when you're supposed to fall asleep, it's pretty tough. So with Sleep With Me, sleep kind of sneaks up on you and you drift. Next thing you know, you're at breakfast tomorrow. And you say, I got this great idea, hon. Oh, yeah, tell me about it. An airplane that doesn't go anywhere. It's like a train, or we could do a train. You say, what do you mean? Well, you get on the plane, and it's got beds and stuff, and then it goes around. Maybe it goes a little bit faster, then it goes to a gate and parks. Or maybe it just drives around all night, because that might be a nice rocking motion. Probably, we'll figure out we'll have it run on solar, stored solar energy or something, or whatever. But I think Scooter was talking about that in the podcast, but not in a concise way, like you're saying, hon. Oh yeah, maybe. I thought he was talking about paper biplanes or something. So that's what the intro does. Then there's business between the intro and the show. And then that's what keeps the podcast free again. And then there's the story. Tonight will be a StarKid Stan cast. Believe it or not, written or prepared by my daughter, who's a fan of StarKid. So first you'll find out what's StarKid. And then we'll talk about the history of StarKid and how I became a StarKid fan. Or Stan, that's what the new, by the time this comes out, I say, Scoots, that was so 2019, I say, or 28. I said, well, yeah, now it's time for me to adopt it. I'm a late adopter. And usually by the time I adopt something, it's right before it becomes back again, like a year or two after. So once I've moved on again. So then we'll do that. Then there's some thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. The only other thing to know is the reason I make the show. One, I have trouble falling asleep, last night it was staying asleep. I was tossing, turning, I was baffled too. Because even though I follow these routines and my own advice, I said, what do you mean? It feels like I had 40 pots of coffee, like right around 12:30. And all, I had to my mind was, so I know how it feels in the deep dark night, and I know how it feels when you're tired or overtired. And if I can help with that, that would be great. But I also believe if you get a good night's sleep, our world's going to be a better place to live in. And that is cool for me to be a part of too. Like if I can help you so you can live a bit fuller life because you're rested, that makes the whole world better. At least that's what I believe. So I'm here because you deserve a good night's sleep, and I know how it feels when you don't get one. So I just really want to help. I really appreciate you coming by, checking the show out if you're new. You're in a nice driver. I really want to help you fall asleep. And here's a couple ways I'm able to do it for you free twice a week. Thanks. Hey, everybody, Scoots here. Don't forget to get your sleep phones order in. It's the best gift if someone's looking to give you a gift for the holiday season. Say, hey, I love Sleep With Me. I want to try these sleep phones out. A soft, stretchy headband with soft speakers inside. It's like a headphone. It's a cocoon for your ears. The most comfortable way to sleep with sleep phones. Nothing poking in your ear, nothing to fall out of your ear. So easy to use, so comfortable, so versatile. You could wear them when you're running. You could wear them on planes, in hotels. You could wear them if you're falling asleep on a boat. I mean, maybe you're going on one of those ships or whatever, but wherever you are, particularly getting comfortable, getting cozy at home, whether you're giving a gift to sleep phones, you're getting a gift to sleep phones, the only place you can get Sleep With Me branded sleep phones is at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. Check out all our sleep phones merch. So many different styles. You're going to be putting Sleeping With My Boyfriend on there. You're going to get one of our Sleepy Sheeps. You're going to get the Sleep With Me logo. Or you're going to get Sleep Phones Wireless, the Sleep Phones Effortless, or a corded version. Check them all out. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones and use that promo code Sleep With Me. Hey, everybody, Scoots here. Don't forget to get your sleep phones order in. It's the best gift if someone's looking to give you a gift for the holiday season. Say, hey, I love Sleep With Me. I want to try these sleep phones out. A soft, stretchy headband with soft speakers inside. It's like a headphone. It's a cocoon for your ears. The most comfortable way to sleep with sleep phones. Nothing poking in your ear, nothing to fall out of your ear. So easy to use, so comfortable, so versatile. You could wear them when you're running. You could wear them on planes, in hotels. You could wear them if you're falling asleep on a boat. I mean, maybe you're going on one of those ships or whatever, but wherever you are, particularly getting comfortable, getting cozy at home, whether you're giving a gift to sleep phones, you're getting a gift to sleep phones, the only place you can get Sleep With Me branded sleep phones is at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. Check out all our sleep phones merch. So many different styles. You're going to be putting Sleeping With My Boyfriend on there. You're going to get one of our Sleepy Sheeps. You're going to get the Sleep With Me logo. Or you're going to get Sleep Phones Wireless, the Sleep Phones Effortless, or a corded version. Check them all out. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones and use that promo code Sleep With Me. All right, everybody, this is Scoots here. This is present Scoots, and you're going to be hearing past Scoots, which is even funnier when I talk about the subject matter of this, and I didn't even realize that till just now, and this is a little bit of a peek behind the scenes. So I recorded this upcoming episode, what you're going to hear coming up here, in April of 2021, I think, and now it's, when I'm recording this, October 2021. And I was prepping this episode, and I just felt like it was running a little bit short. And I said, well, there was something I wanted to do with this episode anyway, which was kind of a tale of the tape type of thing. And I also realized this is a great seasonal content, this part of it. And really, one of the things was so this episode's going to be about a StarKid as a whole, but I'm going to start it out talking about a Vhs Christmas Carol. And if you're hearing this in the holiday season, it's available to purchase or to stream. I highly recommend doing so. It really made it made my holiday season last year. It was one of the first StarKid productions I got to consume, as my daughter, as you'll hear about in a minute, is a huge fan. But there's also songs that I just like. The performances, the fact that it's done in this VHS style, the fact that they produced it and made the best, like they did what they could to be creative during 2020, 2021 is inspiring. But it's really good. I mean, that's the main reason, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, some of the songs are still with me. But then I also said, Scoots, what could you even remember? I've seen it at least 2 or 3 times because I can't remember. It was like one of those paid, like a rental in some sense. So we paid for it, and I think we had it for 48 hours or a week or something where we could stream it. And the music is not on Spotify. It might be on Apple Music, or purchase it so that everybody from the kids from StarKids can get paid, and make sure to pay to rent it this holiday season. So it's a Christmas Carol. It's done in a VHS style. It's a musical, And it tells, of course, the story about Scrooge and the Cratchits. And the first song I definitely remember, Bah Humbug. And I can hear it in my head. It kind of talks about, everybody's talking about Scrooge. So in storytelling, it definitely helps with the exposition, very similar to in other telling a Christmas Carol or the actual Christmas Carol, like seeing Scrooge's behavior. And we also see some of that. And Scrooge is wonderful. And I'll talk about the cast, past Scoots in the future. We'll talk about that. So that's funny because I'm present Scoots for me, past Scoots for you, talking about past Scoots for me, which is future Scoots for you. And the intro is by past Scoots. So that's the first part of the story, talking about Scrooge, introducing the Cratchits and Bob Cratchit. And then there's the Jacob Marley sequence, usually, just like in other tales, who kind of gives Scrooge a warning. And in this one, he says there's going to be three spirits as the next song. And I can't quite hear this one, though. I mean, I'm sure I remember it. It says there's like a dancing sequence with Marley, and I'm just trying to hear it. But I mean, the next song, I guess, is just dominating my attention. So hopefully, I mean, by the time you hear this, I'll have rewatched it if it's the holiday season. Then the Ghost of Christmas Past comes, and this one is one of my favorite, but probably, and it's just really good. I mean, the song has a hook, and I won't spoil the VHS 80s kind of feel of it, but it's called I'm the Ghost is the next song. Very, very catchy. And that goes kind of into Scrooge's past, right? And Fred and Belle, in this one, Scrooge's former fiance, Fezziwig, Bob Cratchit, all that stuff. And let's see, this is a Christmas past. Then they have a scene with Belle and young Scrooge called That Scrooge. And so I'm trying to, again, like when you have an earworm, it's kind of hard to get rid of it. When you have a StarKid earworm. But so there's that one. Then Scrooge obviously is back sleeping. And that's where he discovers the ghost of Christmas present. And this one is called Christmas Electricity, which is kind of explaining joy in the holiday season. And so they go to Christmas present, and they go to Fred's house, and Scrooge is actually having fun. And this is Christmas Electricity. You couldn't name a kind of 80s song better, and I guess you should just settle in to enjoy it. I do remember this one, and again, thematically, really well done. Then they go to another Christmas party, again, with the Cratchits, and we kind of see, Tiny Tim and Bob Cratchit, and their gratitude and everything, and then even the gratitude towards Scrooge in some sense, and, the stakes for Tiny Tim, and that's priceless. And that's a beautiful one, and again, it fits the notes and the progression of the story and stuff really well. And then Scrooge runs into Christmas Future. And, don't get it twisted. This is different than the Scrooged, which I watched last season, too, and which we have an episode about. But this, so Scrooge meets up with the ghost of Christmas Future, and, they go around, they see, there's like a slow reveal, and it kind of shows, like, Scrooge's legacy that he's leaving behind. And, what Scrooge is, and then they see again other legacies with the Cratchits and some of the costs of Scrooge's, the impact of Scrooge's choices in the present and the past. And that's called The Final Casper. That song has a different title. But then we go into the final sequence of the story, and this song really hits. It's called, the name of the song is Christmas Day. It's a full cast, Scrooge, and then builds to the full cast as Scrooge's had a reawakening or rebirth after his night, with the cat. I already used the G word, but I guess like in this case, it's very specific. They tried to use Casper at the end. But, Scrooge has joy. He's decided to change his life and live a new life, make different choices. So he sends, the turkey to the Cratchits, goes to Fred's house, makes donations, apologizes, and asks for forgiveness, making amends. Wow. And Fred and Scrooge connect. Then Fred then Scrooge deals with Bob Cratchit. First he does a fake out. So they sing this song Christmas Day. Again, really, really enjoyable. And just a really musical, I really, really got a lot out of, really had fun, and just can't forget. I mean, I guess that to me, is there songs that you can return to even non-contextually, and the images it leaves behind. So there's a StarKid musical, like that one. There's a couple songs from the superhero one, but then Annie. Also, I couldn't do a full tale of the tape of Annie because it's very long. It covers kind of, I think, now that I'm removed from my talking about that, it takes this tangent about Anakin Skywalker, Vader, so far off the beaten path, but with so many different characters. I think I probably talked about it in the past. Scoots is going to talk about it more. But there's so many good ones. But again, just the joy of Annie and its love of pod racing and wanting to relive the past and recapture the past is another powerful one to check out. So my daughter watches the Oregon Trail one over and over again, and the guy who didn't like musicals, which I don't think I've seen either one of those, sat down, I apologize, straightforward, watched them beginning to end, watched sequences of those. But yeah, those are StarKid places to start with StarKid. Starting StarKid this holiday season, maybe they have a new holiday, because they did the one about shopping too. Maybe they have a new one this year, but definitely check out Vhs Christmas Carol. And I'll even put a link in the show notes for it, and support some people out there making creative stuff. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, this is Scoots here, and this is definitely the first time we've done this style of episode that I can remember. And this episode, I think I was talking about in the intro, was prepared by my daughter, Sophia. So we're calling this Sleepy StarKid Stan. And we're going to talk about StarKid and some of the musicals they made so you'll understand it better. And it looks like I got 12 pages of notes. 60 divided by 12 is like 6 minutes a page. And, Sleep With Me exists because of a fandom, really. And so being a fan is something I like to encourage, a respectful fan, a fan that enjoys stuff and reflects on it, and then is maybe inspired by it. But that's why Sleep With Me exists, is like in the aughts when I first started listening to podcasts, a lot of the podcasts I was listening to were shows like fans. One genre I listened to was fans of theme parks. So that's kind of where I met Ray. And this was years before the podcast, like 5, 6, 7 years before the podcast. I listened to a podcast that Len Testa was on. And actually, I found recently that I even missed a lot of podcasts. There was this whole genre of theme park fan podcasts back then, some of which, even the one Len used to be on, WDW Today, it exists in a different format and with different hosts now, I think. But let's see who was on that, like Mike, Matt, and Len. But so there was a couple other ones that I didn't even listen to that now I've kind of discovered. But I wasn't really listening for the content as much as their fandom of their enjoyment of the content they were talking about. It's kind of like Ray, and everybody has a different relationship with stuff, so that's great too. It's like some people might enjoy the immersiveness of Ray's trip reports. What I enjoy is listening to his appreciation of stuff. And so at some point, I think over 2020, but maybe it was before this, my daughter became a fan of StarKid and all the performers and musicals associated with StarKid. And, when your kid's excited about something, sometimes you're like, okay, that's great for you. But you really I think it adds a connection to be like, okay, let's sit down and let me enjoy this. Not just through your eyes, but let me enjoy it myself too. And I think it was, at first I just wasn't ready for the ones she was a super fan of. So I kind of dipped my toe in, and then I slowly descended into the StarKid bathtub. StarKid, it's not StarKid, so I probably will mix it up and call it that. And in my opinion, everybody associated with this really should, is really, really talented and have a great love for. And, there's a couple of people, and it's interesting, there's like a small tangential connection to the podcast even through one of the breakout performers of StarKid, though every person at StarKid will be eventually breaking out. I'm convinced of that. And maybe breaking out means behind the scenes, because I think that's like a really good place to be. So let's start with our notes. What we're going to do here is we're going to go through the founding of StarKid, and then we're going to go through some summaries of Annie, Christmas VHS, Holy Musical Batman, and AVPMS, which I think is a very Potter musical S. I don't know what the S stands for, but StarKid, I almost said FarKid, just because I saw founding. StarKid was founded, according to Michigan Today, March 9th, 2011. And this is from StarKid.com. Is Brian Holden and Nick Lang were roommates. And Matt Lang, who was Nick's brother, wanted to put on a show he and his friend had an idea for. And so the three of them wrote the script over the phone. And here's where, your first breakout performer, Darren Criss. Yeah, that Darren Criss. Though if you're a Darren Criss fan, you already know all this. And I'll go on to Darren Criss. Darren Criss, one wonderful performer. And actually, I've had to slowly, I discovered Darren Criss in 2019, on a cable show. So let's see. Okay, so the three of them wrote the script over, and then Darren Criss and AJ Holmes wrote the songs for the show. And all the roles were written with a specific person in mind. So this was their first musical. With Darren Criss was going to be Harry Potter. Okay, this explains a lot of it. And then it was originally produced as Harry Potter the Musical, but then it became a Very Potter Musical, probably because of some sort of complication with legal stuff. And this was this was April 2009. They put it on at the University of Michigan as part of the Basement Arts program. And then it was put on YouTube just for the cast to see it, according to this. And then it became one of the most watched channels on YouTube. So it quickly became, because of the popularity of Harry Potter. And the channel was called StarKid Potter at first because Draco Malfoy says in the show, in a British accent, which I can't do, Rocket Ship Potter, StarKid Potter, Moonshoes Potter, traversing the galaxy for intergalactic travels to pig farts. which makes my daughter laugh the most. But the first StarKid musical I saw, let's see, I just want to run through. Okay, so this is, so the first musical I saw was Annie, a parody. And again, sometimes as a parent, you know, you don't have, you're so busy parenting and like you need a chance. You also need your, like, at least for me, I can only speak for me, I guess, like sometimes you need to be kind of shaken out of your parental malaise and you're making a sleep podcast or whatever your job is, malaise. And I knew this was really important to my daughter. So I said, okay, let's sit down and let's watch. She said, why don't we start with Annie? Because you're a fan of Star Trek or Star Wars. And I think you'll really like this one. And I'll be honest, like I'm not an easy person to introduce stuff to because I tend to, you know, I have issues with CRONTROL, and I'm like full of skepticism. I mean, like a lot of people that listen to a sleep podcast, even though my daughter, but a lot of times you want to try to meet people on their level, like meet their excitement, you know what I mean? And then there's still a skill I need to work on and improve in. And I feel like this one I was able to get to, like, I was able to have some progress, not perfection. And say, okay, let's watch this. Let's put down the phone. Let's put aside everything, and let's try to suspend our disbelief. And I think we even talked about that. And oh boy, was I able to suspend my disbelief with this. And it's a parody based off of Star Wars. Oh boy, what was that Star Wars? Like, you got to see this thing. If you're a fan of Star Wars or you experienced a level of dissatisfaction. Like, if you ever wondered, what would it be like to reinvent that Star Wars movie, Episode 1? I don't even know what it's called. Like, let's see, there's Clone Wars, the Darth Vader one, and this one, Phantom Menace. Is that what the first one's called? That's a pretty good title. And I guess that's what it was. So I don't know if it's specifically just the Phantom Menace, but it does, yeah, I guess it kind of jumps around, but it mostly focuses on the Phantom Menace and just like if you could say, let's just go for it and let's just have fun and let's make this as fun as possible for everybody. And I guess if they made this after the Potter musical, like they probably had an idea of like, okay, what worked well or even what jokes. So if this was my first one, so all the jokes felt very fresh to me. But it has Anakin Skywalker. It actually has Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader in both roles. And really, Chris Allen, like, especially as I feel like, well, he's Annie and Darth Vader, because that's kind of the fact of the matter, right? Anakin, spoiler alert. But I feel like Chris Allen really captured, and I think this is probably why StarKid is so good, is that the performances and the songs and the musical are in service to not just the audience's enjoyment, but also to whatever these things that are going on below the surface, or at least that's how I felt. I felt like the Chris Allen performance was tormented enough, but not in a way, but in a fun way. I don't know, I'll have to rewatch it, but I'm just picturing, like, I knew as soon as I sat down and suspended my disbelief within the opening scene, I said, oh boy, this is something that's going to be a little bit different. And because he's trying just so hard, Darth Vader or Annie, in the opening couple numbers. Okay, it also has Obi-Wan Kenobi, Emperor Palpatine, Jar Jar Binks, a couple of stormtroopers. And this is StarKid's summary of the show. Annie Skywalker is in the dumps. We all know that Pat went to the big spaceship in another universe. He's stuck in a bogus government job he dislikes. And he spends most of his time staring out into space thinking of the good old days. But things are about to change for Annie as he sets off for adventure in the galaxy's biggest comeback. And again, they really play with genres and stuff like that. And you can kind of see, like, even, I don't know where all of the members of StarKid were in their, like, life journeys, but it almost has a post-collegiate-esque feel, or actually like somebody in their 40s feel to it. But let's see, we have Chris Allen as Annie, Joseph Walker as Tarkin, Denise Donovan as Mara, Brian Holden as JJ, and I think JJ is Jar Jar. Oh, yeah, Jar Jar. Julia Albin as Emily, Erica Gale as Sebulba, Joe Moses as Bob and Veers, Meredith Stepien as Ula, and Nick Lang as Obi-Wan and as Palpatine. And then creatively, the creative was Nick Lang and Matt Lang did the book. The music was by Clark Backtresser and Pierce Siebers. The director was Matt Lang. The assistant director was Nick Lang. The music directors were Clark Backtresser, Pierce Siebers, Katie Spellman did the choreography, Jen Lang and Taya Smith did the sets. Nick Lang and Matt Lang did the costumes. Sarah Petty did the lights. Mark Swiderski did the sound design. Ruby Summers was stage manager. And Jeff Dumbroff did the assistant stage manager. And then the music was keyboard and vocals were Clark Backtresser. Keyboard 2 was Pierce Siebers and vocals. And Max Evard did vocals in keyboard 2. Corey Richardson on guitar. Mason Cormie on bass. And Nick Cabot on drums. And Meredith Stepien on percussion and backing vocals. And here's the song list. Annie, Long Ago and Far Away, Strike Back, With My Own Eyes, The Force, You Got It, Haunted by the Kiss, One in a Million, and then Back on Top. And it follows, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it follows, like a pretty straightforward plot. Like that doesn't happen in Star Wars, and it's just really fun. And again, like you can relate to Annie, or maybe there's like a couple love stories, or there's other people that are down on their luck and need to come back too. And there's a father-son thing with Palpatine, and there's some competition with Grand Moff Tarkin. So it's really fun. Really fun movie. And then there's just a lot of inside Star Trek jokes. Okay, then the next musical, I don't know if this was the next one I saw, but it's the next one on the list. I either saw this one next or the one after it, and that's super important. But this one's called Holy Musical Batman without a T, because again, with not an A either, but like the other kind of A with a circle around it. Because again, I think that you got to deal with the people that own this stuff. But it's a parody musical based off of Batman, Superman, and DC Comics. It is very pun heavy. Annie has a lot of puns in a different way, or like I think it's knock jokes, right? And I would love to know, maybe the Langs are just, and everybody that works on this is really just brilliant, or how many pieces of paper they have where they were sketching out puns over and over again, or how much improv worked its way into the final performance. But it's really cool. So, Holy Musical Batman. Let's see. StarKid summary says, Holy Musical Batman. It's time for stopping people doing stuff, shenanigans with everyone's second favorite superhero right after Spider-Man. He had that stuff with his family, and this young billionaire makes a solemn vow to dress up like an evening bird, and Wade should, try to deal with the rogues of Gotham. So get ready to see the dark night you've always dreamed of, singing and dancing. So this one was also very fun. And again, it had like some conflict with Batman and Superman and just how heroes are perceived. And I don't know, I thought it was, so Joseph Walker plays Batman and then Nick Lang played Robin. That's definitely Robin added a lot. Brian Holden played Superman. Jeff Blim plays Sweet Tooth. Chris Allen played a lot of other people played a variety of other roles. Chris Allen did Lucius Fox, O'Malley, Spider, like a web slinger, Two-Face. Dylan Saunders played Scarecrow, Green Lantern, narrator, Egghead. Lauren Lopez was Commissioner Gordon, Calendar Man, King Arthur, Green Arrow. Nico Auger played Sluggers and Sherlock Holmes. Julia Albane played Vicky Vale, Mother Goose. Jamie Lynn Beatty played Candy and Poison Ivy. Denise Donovan, Catwoman. Jim Pavolo played Malone, Mr. Freeze. Meredith Stepien played Riddler and Chase Meridian. Nicholas Strauss played Penguin. O'Hara, Mixoplex. This one, the book was by the Langs, Nick and Matt Lang. Music was by Nick Gage and Scott Lamps. Directors were the Langs. Katie Spellman did choreography. Scott Lamps and Nick Gage also did the music direction. Corey Lubowich did the set. June Saito did costumes. Sarah Petty did light. Sound design was by Mark Swiderski. Angel Kissel did the stage, and Laura McKinnon did hair and makeup. And Nick Gage was on one synth, Scott Lamps was on another, Max Savard was on another one, and Justin Kona was on drums. And they did a bunch of songs in this one. So they had Holy Musical Batman, A Dark, Sad, and Lonely Night, Rogues Are We Reprise, The Dynamic Duets. Then Robin Sucks is The American Way, To Be a Man, and Super Friends. And so this one was yeah, you can kind of see, but there's so many puns and so many villains. They kept it's just really fun one. And there's a lot of, they were able to do a lot of action. This would have been really fun one to see in person because there's so much going on the stage. Okay, this one we saw at the holidays, and this was like a streaming purchase, and it was worth every penny. And if you have a chance to buy it next year or rent it next year, please do, because it is absolutely worth every single penny. I don't know how many times we watched this, but it was really, really well done, especially considering it was 2020. They were really able to deliver something special for 2020 and like a stage show you could enjoy. And that was, you could tell how much they considered how they were making it. And it had the throwback stuff that they like. So it's called the Vhs Christmas Carol. And it was an original musical based off of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. It was made during 2020 as a virtual performance with editing and green screens. And the StarKid summary says, join StarKid for a new holiday tradition blending Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol with 80s musical videos in a scintillating live visual album experience. The reimagining of the classic tale from composer Clark Backtresser features an all-star kid cast serving up vibes from Christmases past to offer an escape from Christmas present and a cutting-edge blend of live and film performances straight out of the Christmas future. And this was just so good. So we had Dylan Saunders played Scrooge, Corey Doris played Fred, Joey Richter was Bob Cratchit, Meredith Stepien was Jacob Marley, Jamie Lynn Beatty was Ghost of Christmas Past. Probably, if you have to pick the Ghost of Christmas Past song might have been the best song. Brian Rosenthal was Young Scrooge. Brittany Coleman was Belle. A.J. Holmes is Fezziwig. James Tolbert is the Casper of Christmas Present. Lauren Lopez played Emily Cratchit. Jamie Burns was the Casper of the Christmas Future. Allie Gordon was Turkey. Brian Holden played Tim, and Clark Baxtresser was the narrator. And this one was written by Clark Baxtresser. It was directed by Corey Lubowich. Produced by Brian Holden and Corey Lubowich. And this was just a really fun one. And I guess because it was a little bit shorter, and because it wasn't a stage performance, I think maybe like it was much more song based. And I mean, because it's these parody musicals, so this was more of a parody musical, something that's in the public domain. And because it was done, everybody was doing it kind of with green screens and stuff. The songs maybe were more easily consumed over and over again for me. But I really enjoyed the first song is Bah Humbug with Scrooge. Spirits was really good. I'm the Casper of the Christmas Past. That Scrooge, Click Christmas Electricity, Priceless, The Final Casper, and Christmas Day. And it was just really fun to watch. So I don't know, I really, really, really enjoyed it. Then we have kind of what made StarKid famous, even to my daughter, because kids today, or even more now, and especially with the ubiquitous in the internet, things you're a fan of, you want to consume more and more and more. And then when there's these Venn diagram overlaps, it makes you even more likely to consume even more. So it's like fan fiction and fiction and stuff may not be everybody's cup of tea or parody or whatever, but like when you're already like a big fan of something, then discovering something that's also really good is cool. And so this is AVMPS, a Harry Potter musical series. And it starts off with AVPM, a Harry Potter musical, which was originally Harry Potter the Musical. And this one, it's a musical parody of the Harry Potter books, but it's based off of multiple books, most recognizably Goblet of Fire. And this was the first StarKid show, and StarKid summary goes, Harry and his pals are in for adventure when the one who can't be named returns to deal with the boy who, was in the world living. So take a ride on That's Who's Not's Name's flying machine and get ready to get back to Hogwarts. Yeah, and this was a big one. This was Darren Criss as Harry Potter, Joey Richter as Ron Weasley, Bonnie Grusin as Hermione Granger, Joseph Walker as Voldemort, Lauren Lopez as Draco Malfoy, Jamie Lynn Beatty as Ginny Weasley, Dylan Saunders as Dumbledore, Brian Rosenthal as Quirrell, Joe Moses as Snape, Jim Paul Volo as Goyle, Brittany Coleman as Beatrix Lestrange, Tyler Brunsman as Diggory, Devin Little as Cho Chang, Richard Campbell as Neville Longbottom, Julia Albane as Crab, Sango Tajama as Lavender Brown, and Lily Marks as Molly Weasley. And the book was by Nick Lang, Matt Lang, and Brian Holden. Music by A.J. Holmes and Darren Criss. Matt Lang was the director. Musical director was A.J. Holmes. Stage manager was Emily Stromberg. Costumes were Marguerite Woodward. The band was A.J. Holmes, Carlos Valdez, and Joe Carroll. And they had the songs going back to Hogwarts, Different as Can Be, Ginny's Song, Harry, Different as Can Be Reprise, Dragon Song, Ginny's Song Reprise, and Cho's Song, Granger Danger, Dance Again, Missing You, Not Alone, Voldemort is Going Down, Not Alone, Going Back to Hogwarts Reprise, and then the bonus track, Pig Farts, Here I Come. And we just rewatched this last couple nights, and it's just, this was a great musical. And you could kind of see why it was so successful, and then the cast was so successful, and just that it was so popular, and it could get another piece of fandom. But I was looking on this one Tumblr, and a lot of people went to the books after they saw this musical first. So it was like StarKid, they were StarKid fans first, and then they became fans of the underlying material here or in other cases. And then after that, they had AVPS, a Harry Potter sequel. And this is the second one, and ends up as a 3-musical series. This is also a parody of multiple books, Order of Phoenix and Philosopher's Sorcerer's Stone, mostly. And this is the summary. Harry and his pals are back for more adventure when they face off against wizards, forest friends, and Dolores Umbridge. So strap on your diapers because it's time to go back to Hogwarts. And let's see, we had Darren Criss as Harry Potter, Joey Richter as Ron Weasley, Bonnie Grusin as Hermione Granger, Lauren Lopez as Draco Malfoy, Joseph Walker as Dolores Umbridge, Joe Moses as Snape, Brian Holden as Lupin, Dylan Saunders as Dumbledore, Tyler Brunsman as Malfoy, Jim Pavolo as Goyle and Frienze, Jamie Lynn Beatty as Rita Skeeter and Ginny Weasley, Nicholas Strauss as Sirius Black, Corey Doris as Yaxley, Devin Little as Cho Chang, Ariel Goldman as Lily Potter, Luna Lovegood, Hedwig, and Fred Weasley. Brian Rosenthal as Seamus Finnegan and James Potter, Brittany Coleman as Dean Thomas, Lily Marks as Molly Weasley, Richard Campbell as Neville Longbottom, Sango Tajama as Lavender Brown, Julia Albion as Vincent as Crab and Candy Lady, Nick Lang as Arthur Weasley, Swordy, Scarfy, Pettigrew, and Big Mama Umbridge. And the book was by Nick Lang, Matt Lang, and Brian Holden. Music was by Darren Criss. Matt Lang directed. Choreography was by James Tolbert. Bruce Kisling did the music. Corey Lubowicz did the sets and the costumes. And let's see, the songs. It's Not Over Yet. Harry Freaking Potter, which I have stuck in my head. To Have a Home, Hermione Can't Draw, The Coolest Girl, Getting Along, Let the Games Begin, Those Voices, Guys Like Potter, You Were Never My Lover, Stutter, No Way, and Days of Summer. And then we had a Harry Potter senior year, which is the last musical in the Harry Potter musical series. It was mostly based off of Chamber of Secrets and the Hollows books. And the StarKid summary goes, get ready for one last romp of magical shenanigans because Harry and his pals are back for their senior year at Hogwarts. And the gang's in for the biggest adventure as they face off against other people and other stuff. Either way, this is the end. And I think the cast is kind of the same. Let me just see if there's anybody that's different. Ivana Lynch played Luna Lovegood. O'Brien Holden in this one plays Hagrid, Lupin, and the Basilisk. But one thing I did want to say, like, as I've been watching these with my daughter, is like really good performances. So it's like, okay, wow, I can see, especially like just having fun, letting the audience have fun, but also capturing, like making the characters their own. And again, they had other stuff that, you know, like jokes that kept paying off over and over again, or long payoffs. But yeah, it's just like so enjoyable and so much talent, so much talent. So let's see. I mean, all I can say is, like about StarKid, is that I highly recommend you checking out some of the musicals and discovering for your own and supporting them. I did want to talk about, maybe there's kind of two people that have a connection to the podcast, but Darren Criss is kind of one of them indirectly. I mean, Darren Criss, not that I know I've ever listened to Sleep With Me. And, you know, I was aware of Darren Criss, but when I saw Darren Criss, so Darren Criss was the star of a show that I try to figure out how to talk about. It came out in 2018. Let me see. And one of the producers of that show was a listener of Sleep With Me. I'm not sure if they still are. And maybe like the cool, like, I'm not going to say who that person is, but I was just like, when I found out they listened and that they're just one of the most impressive people in their creative work as a producer, but also like what they do with their time to support other people. But let's see what we got here. Is like this is from Darren Criss's Wikipedia page, just so like you say, okay, let me learn more. So Darren Criss is an American actor, singer. This is from Wikipedia, and songwriter. He was on Glee from 2010 to 2015. And then he won an Emmy and a Golden Globe for his role. He played a character named Andrew, and he was so good. And it was in this show about it wasn't like, it was called Versace Shirts. A fashion story is my parody name for the show. He's also been on Broadway and movies. He was the founding member and co-owner of StarKids, where he first garnered attention as Harry Potter. And then he was in Broadway on How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying and Hedwig and the Angry Inch. He also is a founder of Elise Fest in New York, an outdoor music festival. On Glee, he played Blaine Anderson. And he was his first number on the show was the fastest selling Glee single, Teenage Dream. He also has an indie pop band, Computer Games, so he's in with his brother Chuck. He's from the Bay Area, which is cool. And in 2009 is when he went to, that's when he graduated from the University of Michigan. And he did take violin lessons and was classically trained. He's learned guitar, mandolin, harmonica, piano, and drums. And he spent a lot of time focused on that. And let's see, after he got his bachelor's arts in 2009, Criss, along with some friends and classmates from Michigan, co-founded StarKid. Let's just read a little bit more about that on Wikipedia. Let's see, it was originally founded in 2009 at the University of Michigan. Focuses on musical comedies, focus on pop culture. StarKid distributes their musicals for free on YouTube or funded by Kickstarter and physical ticket sales. The Harry Potter musical did 2 world tours, 2 reunion concert specials, 3 sketch comedy tours, 3 web series. They've charted 12 albums, and They did a cast reading of Starship, and they had a musical in 2019 called Black Friday. Let's see. So they had a Harry Potter musical, then another musical about someone named Richard, Harry Potter sequel, Starship, which was inspired by Starship Troopers and The Little Mermaid, Holy Musical, Harry Potter Senior Year, Twisted, an untold story of a royal visor, which is Aladdin, and Wicked, The Trail to Oregon, Annie, a parody musical. So it looks like they've been they put out like a couple a year for a while. Firebringer, The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, Black Friday, a Vhs Christmas Carol, and they're getting ready to put out the third in this Hatchetfield saga. And a lot of them premiered at LeakyCon in Orlando. Let's see what else we have. They did a space tour in 2001, 21 stops in 15 cities. The space in the tour stands for StarKid's Precarious Auditory Concert Experience. It had most of the main cast. They did the Apocalypta tour, 24 stops in 21 cities. Then a very StarKid reunion in 2015. That was a reunion to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance. StarKid Homecoming was a reunion concert in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Harry Potter musical. And they've also done some sketch comedy productions, 1, 2, 3 web series. A great place to get started where you would actually be supporting StarKid probably, but I don't really know. I mean, it would be their website, but also listening to their musicals on Spotify, because hopefully they're getting paid for that. But Brian Holden is also does audiobooks. He's a current member of StarKid. He's from Michigan. He was also he was an ice cream server. He's been in like he was in a Harry Potter sequel. He was in the Richard story, Starship, Holy Musical, Batman, Annie. He plays JJ. But he's on this Reach a Space podcast for kids that's somewhat new. And he's appeared on Kids Listen Activity Podcast and been a guest on a bunch of other podcasts before. I guess I should try to wrap up, though. But, like, I guess the hard thing with this is that so many people are going to be fans of specific members of Team StarKid. And this is just meant as kind of an introduction as I begin my descent into that. And then just looking forward. I mean, the one thing I love is, like, then looking forward to their careers and what's going to come out of it. But it is also this other thing that I always try to talk about when I talk about making stuff is if you're like, whether you do something creatively or you want to or you're not sure about it, is like your fandom is a great place to start, like of what you're a fan of. And when you start making stuff, remember what it's like to be a fan of things, because I guess, like, what is the connection you have with StarKid or whatever it is that you're a fan of, and what's that like, and what is it about that stuff that excites you? Is it the performers? Is it the music? Is it the humor? Is it the joy? Is it the mirth? Is it a combination of things? How does it make you physically feel? Like, what else do you like about it? Like, unpacking that stuff can then help you. It's not about taking that and making something similar as much as it is using that to inform your creation. But also, I don't know, I've always been someone that struggles with all that kind of stuff for me, and I either go in too deep or not deep enough. And so I appreciate, it's like almost like one of those things, fandom's almost something that's easier for me to observe and enjoy through other people. Like, unfortunately, like a lot of other stuff, I mean, this is why I make a sleep podcast. and at times I have trouble falling asleep. But it's like I am a fan of fans. Like I think I did an episode about that a long time ago. And to me, that's pretty important too. And then it's like it's also about like getting over yourself and enjoying things. So thanks so much for listening, and good night, everybody. Okay, I want to thank everybody who became a patron recently. I want to thank Catherine, Mike, and Jessica. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Morgan, Freya, and Steph. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Drew, Sarah, and Mike. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Olivia, Dinah, and Liberty. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Rose, Catherine, and Steve. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Andy, Nicholas, and Unintelligible. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Jeanette, Susan, and Lewis. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Joe, Gabrielle, and Jennifer. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Maya, GWA, and Eduardo. Thank you. Thanks, and good night to Kate and Angela. And thank you. Thanks, and good night to Christian and Marley. Thank you. Thanks, and good night, everybody. Thanks for supporting the show. Sleep With Me exists as a free podcast because the people that support the show via Patreon are sponsors. And we grow as a podcast by people just sharing the word and spreading the word about podcasts in general, or specifically about Sleep With Me. I'll tell you about the referral program in a minute. But just showing somebody how to listen to a podcast and where their podcast app is on their phone is a gigantic help for everybody. So thanks so much for that. Thanks, and good night. Hey, everybody, it's Scoose here as I tuck you in. I just want you to know that one of the best ways to listen to Sleep With Me is sleep phones. If you want to support the show, you could get Sleep With Me branded sleep phones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. You use a promo code Sleep With Me, one word, to get a discount on there. And there's a bunch of different headbands to choose from, different models to choose from. And sleep phones are definitely the most comfortable way to listen to the show. They're amazing also to wear on planes and in hotels as you travel. I wear mine when I run, and you can check out all the amazing models over at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. Thanks, and good night, everybody. Good night.